So thank you for joining me for 13 projects of Halloween. And this one here, we end up taking a regular canning jar ring. We're using just the ring and altering it to turn it into a ornament. Tree ornament. You can hang it as an accent somewhere where you might have some other items displayed. Let's see. It's kind of fun and unique because, as you can see, we've got a lot of different levels in there of the webbing. And how we're going to achieve that is with Dura-Lar, which, let's get it readable here. So this Dura-Lar is a 005 clear film, and so that's what we're going to end up stamping on with Stays On. And the stamps we're going to use, I'm going to be using today, are Tangled Webs, CMS 346, and then also the Entomology, because if you can see here, there are some bugs in there which we're going to take and not only cut them using the framelits that Tim Holtz and Sizzix have created to go with those stamps, but we're not only going to die cut them out of watercolor paper, but we're also going to cut them out of the Dura-Lar, so then that way we can get a translucent looking wing in there, because if you were to hang this on a tree, the light coming through the back, the tree lights, it's just going to look really, really cool, I think. I do most of the video in real time while I'm talking, so that's kind of a new for me. But hopefully this inspires you to, grab one of those used rings that you have. So I think we all have these laying around our house, don't we? Have fun with it. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so now we're going to use some of the plain collage paper. And this is my favorite white pigmented ink. This with, we're just going to go randomly in a strip with a piece from Tangled Webs. This is going to go on the outside. And then we're going to put on some of the enamelware embossing powder. So okay, so there it is all done, and this enamelware embossing powder, it just adds this extra element of spookiness because it's not a solid white. It kind of has like this spottiness to it, which I think is pretty cool. Which, I guess you're not really going to be able to see much, but I don't know, it just does it for me. Anyway, so I know that my ring is about 3/4 of an inch, so I'm just gonna rip these in strips. Just kind of trying to stay and keep the webbing. Doesn't have to be precise. And also ripping the ends for when we need to connect a piece. ripping these edges just really help it blend into the background it's being adhered to. So I'm just going to continue ripping these up and then I'll be right back. Okay, so here I've got just a regular canning jar lid, and what is this? This is about the 3¼ inch circumference, and I just took and painted it with some distress paint. Because this is a slick surface, I was getting a little bit of beading, so I just added a little bit of collage matte medium in with this on the same paintbrush with the black soot, just to give it a little bit more tooth or grab. So now what we're going to do is add these strips onto the outside of the ring. And the trick with this becoming so translucent is making sure that the collage medium is really still wet and kind of gloppy. Not gloppy, but it remains wet. So instead of going around the whole thing, I'm going to go in sections and just kind of lay that on there, and then using this distress brush, which is great because it's got some strength to the bristles. You want to get in there and really kind of pat down and make sure we're getting rid of any air bubbles in there. So because of that groove in this lid, I'm adding a little bit of pressure, but you don't have to be too worried about it, that the collage paper ripping or breaking, because the embossing powder has given it a bit of strength. So I'm just going to continue, again, just going in sections around this outside ring here, placing it kind of how I want it, and again pushing in those grooves. I'm going to continue all the way around, and I will come back once it's had time to dry, and we'll do the next step. So let's see that one more view. Okay, see? Okay, I'm going to continue around the outside. Okay, so for the bugs that are going to go in between the webs inside the ring, I wanted them to kind of look pretty realistic. So I'm going to show you how I altered them a little bit by removing the paper wings and adding these kind of see-through wings. So all I did for that was I first, on watercolor paper, 140 pound I think this is, I just stamped numerous bugs, the ones that I liked and thought would be a good scale for my scene, and so I just stamped them on there. And actually I used the stamping platform to get a nice bold color, because sometimes on watercolor it takes a couple prints to get a nice deep color. And then I also, on Dura-Lar, I use Stays On and stamp them also on using the Stays On, so then that way it's this being a solvent based ink, it stays on there. And then I just take and run through my little sidekick here, because it's just perfect on my desktop. And so, like Tim suggests, I just line it up and make sure that I can see the little arms and legs through the little holes in there. Put down a little tape just so it doesn't move, and this is kind of hard to do on screen, but I think you get the point. And then run it through. And so then there I have the wings. And there we go. And then I'm going to do the same with the watercolor, being a little bit more precise because this one's going to be the body. The wings, you know, the clear wings, it wasn't quite so important because it's see-through, but this one I'm going to be a little bit more careful. Yep, all lined up. And then run it through. And this one, because it's a thicker paper, I'm actually going to run it through twice just to make sure that all those the little legs are cut out. Move that to the side. And there we go. Okay. And for these purposes, that's going to be fine for me. Okay, I'm going to put that. Now what I do is, and I keep this portion because these little buggers are so small, I'm going to put it back in here to glue and to color it, just to help, you know, it kind of holds it in place. So here I'm just going to take and carefully remove the wings. There's one. And actually I'm saving them in case I want to add them to the web. I know, crazy. We'll see. They may not make it, but at least I have them in case I want to. So there we go. Snip, snip. Wings are gone. There we go. Alright, so put that back in there just so you can, and I'm going to the Dura-Lar piece. Now this one, I'm actually going to cut it across the body. Just to kind of make it easier on myself. So then that way I can just take this piece and glue it right on top of the paper portion of the body. So this is a little fiddly, but so worth it. Okay, so there we have those. And then I just take a little bit of glossy accents, and I've got one of the fine tip. And I'm using glossy accents because this is a, you know, it's shiny. And I'm just going to apply a little bit here. And with this being inside there, it kind of helps me line up to where those the wings should actually be. So there we go. So that would be a finished one. I'm going to put this aside to dry. And I've got other ones going, so I'm going to put one, this little bee here isn't colored. So I'll show you how I do that. I put it back in there. Oops. His wings are already attached. So I'm just going to put them in here, and let's see, I've got a bit, where's my, let's just choose, I like wild honey. I'm just going to go in there and add where I want. We can do some vintage photo, just to add another color. And then for the legs, just because I didn't, you know, if you can see here, there's some of the white showing from the paper, so that's easy enough to take care of by just using the marker and coloring that out. Okay. And then if you wanted, like what I did with this one, I just colored the back black. And there we have it. And those are going to be the bugs. And I kind of liked the mosquito and the bee and this kind of firefly. I used some twisted citron. and the ants, kind of like a fire ant. I gotta black out those legs yet, but I'll be back with the next step. Okay, so now collage medium's dried on here, but I've got, oh, wrong one. This one here, but I've got all this extra here. So you could wrap this around if you had enough excess on the side, you know, from when you made the strips. But because I only have this one piece, I'm actually going to be removing this extra. And to do that, I think this is 240. I don't know, it's just something I grabbed from my husband because I like these small little strips that I can just rip off for sanding sometimes. So I'm just going to very lightly go around just on the edge here. Okay, so after removing the excess collage paper, I did get quite a bit of paint removed. And after kind of layering in what I'm going to put on the inside, which I don't know if I didn't go over these, but all I did was use Stays On, the white, and stamped the webs onto the Dura-Lar, and my plan is to have them inside of here like so. Let's see, like this, kind of in different layers, kind of different angles in there, like this. Okay, and then the bugs will be inside there and everything. But the issue I'm having is I really want the webs to continue over, but as you can see, there's this itty bitty little groove in there, so I won't be able to stamp on here. So what I've decided to do is I just took and traced a circle within the circle, which is this diameter and this diameter. I'm going to cut it out, and then I'm going to glue it on here. Now you're probably thinking, well, why don't you stamp it first then glue it? But once I get these in place, I'm going to want to continue this web just so it looks like, you know, it's a continuance. So that's why I'm not stamping first and then just gluing it on. So I'm going to cut this out, get it glued on, and then we're going to end up putting the inside together when we come back. Okay, so there it's glued on with collage medium, and then I also just ran my finger across just to put a layer on top. And if you can see, it's a little wonky in areas, so again, I'm just going to use some of my sandpaper and just kind of rough those edges up. It's not only does this distress it, but it also, you know, appears as if I cut a perfect circle. The inside. Okay, great. Fix that right up. Looks like a perfect cut job. Alright. So next, let's get our layers in here. And first, I'm going to want this one up in front. So I'm just going to use some of the glossy accents. And I'm using glossy accents because that's a shiny surface. And I'm just going along the inside here. Okay, and I'm going to drop that in there. Okay. Alright, you can see that. And now let's add in a bug. Let's see, something like this. Okay. Now I'm going to also keep some loose in this layer. So maybe, and now I also want to make sure that all my backs are colored, which this one is not. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so that wasn't giving me enough dimension. So I realized I needed something thicker in there. So I had a piece of this foam sheet, the really thick stuff. So what I did is I just did a quick coat of, black on here. And now I know they have, an actual black foam tape, which I need to order, but I don't currently have any here. So I'm just making do. So I'm just going to take and glue this down now, placing it so it's kind of on the edge, inside on the edge, like so. And now I still do have, I put them down here at the bottom, but I still have those pom-poms in there. So now, making sure these guys don't get stuck, I'm going to try this again. Just holding this in place for a second or two. And then I'm going to take and just do the same thing, adding a bead down here and gluing this. Okay, I'm liking that better. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to let this dry. Okay, and so while I'm waiting for my piece to dry, I am actually going to alter, I don't know, this is just, I don't know, a plastic flexible spider that I plan on putting on there, but he's kind of boring just black. So I'm going to use some alcohol inks, and this is pitch black and snow cap, and I'll be cleaning and using 91% alcohol to clean my brush and such. And I'm just going to alter this a bit, kind of make them kind of brown and maybe a little more realistic, kind of spooky. Okay, so it's not quite completely dry, but I just had to keep going, couldn't wait for it to dry overnight. So here it is so far, and you can see, I'm going to try to see how there's that dimension in there. because we staggered the pieces inside there. And a couple of the bugs, kind of looks like they ended up sticking to the glossy accents that wasn't quite dry in there, but I'm okay with that. So, and then here, there's a little piece of the foam, but we'll fix that with the spider. So now the next step, I'm going to take and finish up the webs on the outside. So I'm actually doing this freehand. You can always put it on a block if that's easier or you're more comfortable doing that. But basically, I want to be able to feel that I'm just on this edge. So I'm just using the StazOn and just lightly inking this up. And so I know this one goes here, so I'm just going to lightly, and anything that doesn't work out, I can always just use my gel pen, which I don't like that at all. So, uh-oh. And that's not coming off. That was instant. Oh my, usually you've got a little bit more play time. Okay, maybe we'll just try again. And you know what? Maybe I am thinking a little too confident in myself. I am going to put it on a block. Where's my... This is a little oversized, but I'm just going to use this one. Ooh, I just pushed a lot on there. Okay. So, let's try this again. Applying a good amount of pressure. Much better. See? And I can always go in and clean up those lines if I choose. So let's see. I'm going to take the piece that I cut out and put it in here to protect. Let's see. No, let's kind of eyeball it like this. Lay that in there. And I'm just going to go right to the edge, whether it's going to be lined up or not. Looks pretty cool. And let's see, let's go with one more here. So let's put this back in here like this. Oh, let's ink it up first. Again, right about there. Let's insert this to protect what's already there. All right. Oh, pretty happy with it. Alright, now I'm going to hurry up and clean this off here because StazOn is horrible if it dries on your stamp. Okay, so I'm just going to use my Higgins permanent ink marker And I am going to clean up a few of these areas. Okay, so to help finish off the back, I have the Tim Holtz Sizzix. I think these are called nestled circles. And I just die cut out of black cardstock. And that'll add just a nice, just to finish off the back. I don't like that raw edge showing. And so I also decided, to me, angel hair is great. Is great web. I mean, look at that. So, I figured just to add just a little bit more, because, there can never be enough with Halloween. I'm going to put down a bead. Actually, I want glossy accents again, because we do have the shiny surface there. So on this underside, take my pin out, I'm going to add a bead all the way around, just in case this is visible, through the front. Nice generous bead, because we are going to put some of this, kind of concentrating more on just the outside. So I really don't want it to interfere with all the stamping I've done. So if I keep it more around the circumference, it shouldn't be too much. Is my thought anyway. Okay, and then let's get this on top. Oh, my fan's blowing. But I don't want this to be shiny, so being very careful. Okay, now we are letting that dry. I'm not going to touch it, and we'll be back. I'm going to figure out the spider's going to go here. So the top, I need to put a hole right through here. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to take my pick, my craft pick, any pick will do, and just gently kind of going back and forth, just push a hole in there, like so. And then I happen to have some of Tim Holtz little like fasteners, so this is the eye hook, and then yeah, I think that's called a, yeah, I don't know what that's called. I'll list it. And so this is going to fit nicely right in here. And the reason I use this is because I'm going to use a medium regular gel, and I want to make sure that there's, kind of a, enough for it to grab. So let's see. Let's get this open. There we go. My much loved palette knife. I'm just going to put a generous dollop on here. Like so. So a pretty good amount. And just push it into the hole. And my nails are getting in the way, so I'm just going to use a tool just to help guide that in. And there we go. Okay. I may have used a little too much, so I can just easily clean that up. This gel's gonna dry clear. Okay, and then I'm also going to stick on my spider. Like so. There we go. There's the front, there's the back. Now you could always, if you wanted, you know, to take this step further, because I'm just showing you the basics, hopefully you'll give it a try. But you could put another hole down here and, you know, put some embellishments there. You could have, you know, if you weren't doing a spider or a web theme, you could always, you know, wrap stuff around the outside. Really, you know, this is just, it's a great little, you know, just kind of shadow box. So yeah, there we go. So thank you for joining me. I'm going to have some close-ups coming up, and I hope you watch more of the 13 projects of Halloween. Thank you for joining me.